Hey, welcome back to Daughters of the King. I'm Kathryn Gore. Thank you for joining me tonight. Tonight, I want to talk to you about what I believe God was putting in my spirit over these past couple of weeks, and it's pertaining to relationships, okay, friendships. I remember being up, I don't know if it was in the middle of the morning or if it was just in the daytime. I honestly can't remember, but I remember my spirit stirring in regards to having an understanding that we need each other more than what we think. And what I was picking up in my spirit is that some things are going to take place in the near future. Don't know what those things are, but it's going to cause us to really need one another. I don't know, exactly what we are to expect, but one thing's for sure, the way that it was being placed in my spirit is that we need each other like never before. And I want to encourage you all because what has happened to many of us, whether we have started to live a life of isolation or um, it's just, I don't know why this happened. I know why it happens. Let me say this. We've learned to live in a mindset that we're okay as long as we're okay and our family is okay. We've learned to live in a learned behavior, so to speak. When we get hurt, it's too much for us to deal with, and we shut people out and we lose friends. We've learned a behavior or a mindset of when we become super overwhelmed, we just can't take anymore, right? And I'm learning, y'all, that nowadays women, we get easily overwhelmed. Okay, that means that any little thing that comes our way that we just can't deal with, it's just too much for us. It's too much. And I'm telling you, when we get to this place, it's not a good place for us to be isolated. But it's so convenient for us to look at the phone and not pick the phone up because we're too tired. Sometimes, y'all, we may have to make these surprise visits over to our friend's house because when you realize that you can't get a hold of your friend, voicemail is full, or you really, something has happened and you can't contact them via phone, you may have to take a chance of getting, I'm going to use the words cussed out because some people don't like surprise visits, especially when they're not in the mood to talk. But this is how much God really wants us to be there for one another. It was just so real in my spirit. And the crazy part is this, y'all. God put this in my spirit about a week and a half ago, and today I ran across this article about friendships, and I want to share this with you because this further proves that God is not a man that he will lie. Now, this article is from the Survey Center on American Life, and it's titled "The State of American Friendship: Change, Challenges, and Loss," and this is written recently, June the 8th. This article came out, and this is by Danielle Cox. And it says, coming out of a once-in-a-generation global pandemic, Americans appear more attuned than ever to the importance of friendship. However, despite renewed interest in the topic of friendship in popular culture and the news media, signs suggest that the role of friends in American social life is experiencing a pronounced decline. People are losing friendships. It says the May 2021 American Perspectives Survey finds that Americans report having fewer close friendships than they once did, talking to their friends less often and relying less on their friends for personal support. This is true. Do y'all know how many people call me and say I don't have nobody else to talk to? Like, we need each other, y'all. It's so important for us to be there for one another. You really do not know what a person is going through, because when you're too tired to talk about your life and you're just like, it's okay, all is well, you're too tired. That means that you're holding a lot in. That means that you need some real uplifting. The joy of the Lord is our strength. And I'm telling you, when you get into that place where you really don't want to talk to nobody, it's a dangerous place to be in, because the enemy can take you out mentally. When you start to be bombarded with all of these thoughts, physically, your body starts to shut down. You're sleeping all the time. You're tired. You can't focus. You can't think. If you had a friend that you would cut up with, joke and laugh, I'm telling you that heaviness wouldn't really be there. But because this happens to so many people, they learn to live a life of isolation. It falls on them and they become used to it, and they live in a life of oppression. Okay? So this is what this article says. It says the COVID-19 pandemic is the most obvious culprit in the national friendship decline, meaning that this COVID-19 played a big role in the reason why people have lost friends. But broader structural forces may be playing a more important role. What does that mean? Other things are taking place outside of this COVID-19 pandemic that has caused a change in friendships. Number one, Americans are marrying later than ever and are more geographically mobile than in the past. Two trends that are strongly associated with increasing rates of self-reported social isolation and feeling of loneliness. So, if I'm reading that correctly, marriage has changed relationships, and basically when you get married, your life does change. And some of my friends have gotten married earlier than what I did, and my mentality was, I'm so happy for them, but I don't want to burden them or put them in a situation where their husband may get tired of her friends or whatever calling. And the reality of it is this: you don't have to separate yourself from your friends, because your friend who got married still has to have her own personal life. She just has to work this thing out in a way where everybody's happy, but your friend still needs you to be a friend. So, marriage does play an important role. And it says second here, American parents are spending twice as much time with their children compared to previous generations, crowding out other types of relationships, including friendships. I have seen over the years, this was me, this is my issue. I have seen over the years, because single parenting is real, okay? I've seen over the years where mothers just live for their children. That was me. I'm still living for my children. But mothers live for their children, and they just have a deep connection, whereas, you holding on close to them, and you don't need a friend. You just need your children, because that's all who you think about. And that's out of balance. It's out of balance, y'all. And here's the truth: you need adult conversation, because then you'll start finding that you're saying big words to a 3-year-old. Kids don't know what you're talking about, and some things the kids shouldn't really hear. I had to learn that the hard way. My husband, when I got married almost 7 years ago, my husband picked up on it real quick, and he was like, hon, you do know that the kids shouldn't be hearing about adult conversation. I'm like, well, what? Like, that was not normal for me, because it's always been me and my children, right? So that's something that I'm still, thank God for my hubby's patience, because when you live a lifestyle that you've always lived for years and years and years, it's hard for you to break that habit, that pattern, that mindset, right? So this happens and it's out of balance. You really need to have um, adult conversation, adult friends. You need to have an adult life, okay? Now, finally, Americans are working longer hours and traveling more for work, which may come at the cost of maintaining and developing friendships. In fact, perhaps reflecting its central place in the hierarchy of American social life, Americans are now more likely to make friends at work than any other way, including at school, in their neighborhood, at their place of worship, or even through existing friends. The workplace is where it's at, is basically this sentence is saying. I know people who they become like family when they're, with their coworkers, because you're working all the time. You really do develop a relationship, and you're like, I can't wait to go tell her this, or I can't wait to talk to her, and you start to become close, and that's cool. You need your friend. You need a friend. Sorry, I hear my children's voice now. Understand? This article continues to say, but the news is not universally negative. Okay, even though all of this stuff is going on, they're saying that the survey paints a more complex and perhaps more fluid picture of American friendships. Roughly half of Americans report having lost touch with at least one friend during the pandemic, but surprisingly, nearly as many Americans report having made a new friend over the same period. This is what happens because God knows that it's not good for man to be alone. All right, now we understand that Adam was the first man, and God looked and he noticed that man was not good. It was not good for man to be alone, so he created Eve, a support, a helpmate. But in actuality, it's not good for anybody to be alone. I remember, I believe it was a story that came out, true story, about Bin Laden, when he actually, and forgive me if I'm wrong, but when he actually got put away, he went crazy, so to speak, because he was alone. If I messed that name up, I'm sorry, but it was written somewhere that one of those leaders over the nations, I want to say it was Bin Laden, when he got captured or caught, he kind of lost his mind a little bit because he was alone. That happens. It really does happen. So, this article continues to say, many Americans report having activity, friendships, or situational friends, people they see at certain times or places, and most Americans have a best friend, even if it's fewer than in the past. So, with our relationships, you have a group of girls you used to run with, hang with. It's always at least one that's consistent in that group that's going to reach out to you to say, hey, what's going on? How are you doing? And then that one person reports back to everybody else in the circle and say, I talked to so-and-so, everything is good, and everybody is somewhat okay. Somewhat, because they know that you're doing okay. But the more you don't talk to them personally, the more they kind of separate from you, because they like, well, I don't really need to talk to her. I just want to make sure she all right, so I'm just going to ask so and so. So that still weighs in the balance here. But I want to tell you that this article ends up saying that most women have been affected by losing friends over the pandemic than men. And this is where I really believe us women need to do a little bit better. I'm putting my own self in this situation. I've told y'all I lived a life of isolation, and it just is, that's just something that my life has been since I was 18 years old. 19, 20. I don't know. Yeah. So, many people have good, kind-hearted friends. You will have one person out of that friendship or circle of friends. They all have different personalities, but you'll have one person who's consistent with reaching out. You'll have another person who is like, well, what's the problem? You know, they're stronger than the other person, but they act out in a different way. Then you'll always have a sweet person that really just is like, oh, it's going to be okay type thing. You know, you have different personalities that you deal with your friends, but they all mean well. For the most part, they all mean well, and they really have your best interests in mind. And God really put it in my heart in such a way where we have to understand, we've got to come out of this mentality that woe is me, it's all about me, I'm going to stay in this little bubble here, I'm going to live for me and my children, because certain things are happening here. People are trying to knock on your door to help you, to bless you, to lift you up. And as long as you have these boards up and these walls up and you're like, nope, 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 the more you're going to miss opportunities to break free from whatever oppression you got going on. It is strength in numbers, excuse me. What does that mean? That means the more that you're uplifted, the more you can live, you can stand, right? I just know that this is something that God wants us to really consider. I don't know what is going to happen, but I do know, now that I'm thinking about this, God did say that he was going to restore friendships and relationships. And I'm going to share something with y'all. All right. About 2 years ago, God gave me a dream over and over. I had the dream at least 3 times. That a particular friend that I used to hang with years and years and years and years ago in high school, God gave me a dream, and the dream was, you know, it was the same dream, same setting. We were at a wedding, and I came out of that dream just knowing that God was going to have me minister to her and talk to her again. We lost contact for years, and I want to say recently we just started talking again. And it just blows my mind, because God will give you insight on what's to come, and you don't know how God does it. But when I started talking to her again, every time I talk to her, I'm like, I'm not telling her this, but I'm like, oh my God, this is so cool, because God already has been dealing with me about this. So I know that God loves her. I know that he wants her to come out of whatever she's in order for her to understand that she's loved, that God has been with her. And he put this he gave me a dream over and over about 2 years ago, and recently I just started talking to her again, and I said, God, this is crazy. Like, this is who God is, though. Y'all ever got phone calls, and this happens to me often, a name will drop in my spirit. There's a person that reached out to me today, and if she's listening, she knows possibly who she is. She called me today out the blue. I was just thinking about her last night. This is who God is. God put it in my spirit to think about her, and today she called, and I'm like, oh, hi, you know, this is how it is, y'all. So think about you reaching out to your friends to say hi more often. How are you doing? More often. And I'm going to tell y'all, when you start to minister to other people, your problems, because most of us have issues and problems, but your problems don't seem as big. because you realize that you're in the same boat. Maybe having different problems, but we're all struggling, right? We're all struggling. And I think this is why God is saying we're going to need each other like never before, because this is where it's at. This is where it's at, y'all. So, no more isolation, okay? No more of us living this lifestyle that we think that we're okay and we're safe because we don't deal with people, and it's, all of this extra stuff with having friends. You really do have some friends out there that really care and love you. And you have to figure out which ones are real and for you. There are some wolves, and some wolves just need to stay wolves, and they need to go about their merry way. But there are some true, sincere, genuine friends who just care about you, who cares about your well-being. And you necessarily should not count them out. You need strength. You need healing. You need adult conversation. You need fellowship. Alright, so this article is online. You can find this on Google. It's a lot more to it, but the overall picture is friendship levels are going down. What are we going to do about that? What are we going to do? We can have an open heart, answer our phones. We can have an open heart, put ourselves to the side, pick up the phone and say, hey, girl, what's going on? Now, if you're like me, you don't have a lot of numbers in your phone. But there's Facebook. There's other avenues that you can reach out your friends to. I've been so bad in this area. I really have, and I'm going to be honest with you. I really have, because this has been my life for years and years and years. But God really wants us to break out of this. So there you go, y'all. We're all in this together. We all need each other. We all have something to give to one another. So let's start doing that, y'all. Let's start doing that. Alright, so y'all have a good weekend. I'll see y'all soon. Be safe. Bye-bye. Thank you for watching Daughters of the King. We appreciate your support. You can reach me at www.dotking.org. That's www.dotking.org. You can subscribe or send a message through live chat, or you can send an email to Kathryn, Kathryn, @dotking.org. This ministry is designed to speak to your heart. Feel free to share your thoughts about the message or give insight on a topic that you would like for me to discuss. We are here for you.